when does it come in and do the music?
We're not going to do that. I'll just start talking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, unless you want to watch the intro and then we can.
No,
like,
no, I'll sing the intro.
Oh, okay.
Back when loving you was a real good time, a real good time. It
That's
wasn't
hilarious.
such a nasty look on your face. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then you don't know the rest because I don't ever play it much farther into that.
No, it never makes it to that point. I always wait for that.
I'm glad that you could understand the lyrics to it.
I did. No,
Yeah.
it was terrific. I mean, it's just the whole idea. I mean, it conjures an image. That's what I like about those lyrics is that, you know, it's like you're checking out this girl that you've been with a while, you know,
right.
like maybe semi-serious. Like maybe you just jumped into cohabitating a little early.
Oh, you kind of picked that up from that?
You know what I mean? Like maybe you jumped into cohabitating a little early.
You've seen the nasty look on the face before.
And she just thinks, like, when you first got together, she just was convinced you was going to be a rock star. And then, like, you were partying all the time and everything was cool. But then, like, the band broke up and the parties came to an end. And now she just, I mean, now.
That's what you got?
She can't do free cocaine anymore because you're not going to the parties. You know?
We're doing the show now, right?
What's that?
Is this show on now?
Yeah, this show's on. Man.
Okay. First of all, everybody's got to know that Travis Williams is a very intelligent person, and you're gonna have to strap your thinking caps on for this guy. I've given them the rundown before the show to remind him he is talking to Brian Miner.
Oh, that's right.
Not the smartest of human beings. I'm not dumb.
You
but
don't give yourself enough credit.
You guys got to understand the operating system that he's on and the operating system that I'm on are, like XP and Windows 8.
No.
So,
See, whenever I hang out with Brian, I always do it so that we can intellectually 69. That's the entire fucking point.
Well, if anybody can answer the questions that I have in this head, it's Travis. Until halfway through the answer,
That's a big explanation.
My computer shuts off.
No, you start thinking about tacos or whatever.
My RAM is very low. You know what I mean? It's very low, and then I have to try to find something to kind of pull you back down into the rock bar. You know what I mean?
So tacos
out of the library back into the rock bar.
So tacos. I mean, who has the best ground beef taco in the Quad Cities?
Did you look at my notes?
No, I did not.
Because, okay, here's what I've noticed.
Okay.
This is awesome.
Right.
I don't know if it's awesome or not, but I was driving down, I don't know if anybody else saw it, but I was driving Kimberly, I think, or is it Locust? It's Locust, where that 5 Points is.
Yeah.
Brand new Azteca Express in there.
That's right.
What is that, like 4 of them now?
Yeah, I think so. Those guys are coming up in the world.
They're
sure.
taking over, man.
Yeah.
I remember, Travis, when it was the first Azteca that was in that
the
strip mall in Brady.
The Walnut Center, yeah.
And it was just that one little slot. It wasn't the whole...
Right.
They hadn't bought like the 3 bays next to it yet.
Yep.
And they actually, the first time I went there, I worked at Payless Cashways at the time on Brady.
Oh, really?
And I had heard through the grapevine that, hey, that Mexican restaurant up the street, they got pretty good quesadillas.
And
first I heard of it.
You know what? Their quesadillas are awesome. Man.
And what my selling point was, this is how messed up I am. My selling point wasn't just that.
Yeah.
And they just got reopened after being closed down by the health department.
Oh, Jesus.
So they were closed for a while.
That's a good sign.
And I said, I got to eat there.
That's a good sign.
That means that they're probably, they're doing it for real.
Exactly.
And just on the borderline of the law. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Because everybody knows, I mean, and I realize this is kind of an extreme example, but cancer tastes great. Because everything that tastes amazing gives it to you. So if you can go, here's what you want to look for. You want to look for restaurants that hang themselves on the edge of being health violation. Azteca, great food. You want to get your meat from butcher shops that kind of stink. You know what I mean? Like when you walk in the place, it kind of is almost a turnoff, But
wow.
I'm telling you though, that's the best because that means they're not like freezing it and doing whatever. I mean, they're cutting it fresh right there.
Man. Seasoned.
Right there, exactly. So
what is that? Is that 4 then? They've got Aztec on Brady, and then they've got 2, 3, 4, and then the Express, right?
Right.
They're taking over.
They are taking over.
Like I said, and when they were that one bay, I went in there and I got it to go. I got the case. They gave me this bag like packed full of shit. It was a quesadilla in a tin.
Right.
Back in the day, they used to.
Huge. Yeah.
There was like one dude waiting for you to come in because there's nobody in there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You come in and they'd come from the back and come up to the register and say, "What do you need?" You know what I mean?
Right,
and then,
exactly.
okay, I want to eat. Oh, you want to eat here?
Oh.
Okay, what do we do now?
Yeah, right.
Make them something to eat. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It seemed like it was just kind of by the seat of their pants, you know, at first.
Sure.
Anyway, I get this back and I eat it, and of course they gave me a big bag of chips and that salsa of theirs.
Yeah.
And I was immediately like, this is the shit.
Yeah.
These guys are, they're doing it right.
Well, because probably before that, your experiences were like Rudy's. Rudy's, which has yellow cheese.
And don't get me wrong, there's specifically two different, well, there's more than two, but Azteca and Rudy's are completely two different things.
They are.
Azteca is to Rudy's as like Old Chicago would be to Harris Pizza.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Or authentic like Chicago style pizza.
I like that, to where you've got this sort of like stylized, re-cultured version of something that's kind of like American.
Or a made right is to a cheeseburger.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's the basic article, the genuine, cultural. I mean, that's the thing that I think I like about like Azteca. And now there's a whole... Azteca was kind of the germ of a whole bunch of different restaurants, though.
It sprung that off, yeah.
Because there was El Rodeo.
Okay. And they were there because Jerry Freeze told me that it was called Old Granddad's or something like that.
Right.
He called it Granddad's or something.
But it was the old Shakey's Pizza that was...
Yeah, and wasn't that there when Azteca was there? I guess I didn't spread my wings in the Mexican food world until I don't really know. Until I saw Azteca.
But then Los Agaves.
Okay.
If you eat at the Los Agaves restaurants, the recipes are pretty amazingly similar to Azteca and El Rodeo.
It's like when Harris Pizza came, then all of a sudden all the other pizzas spread out too. So you're kind of getting that. And I call it the wet, because Azteca to me was a wet Mexican food.
Yeah, right.
Now there's some authentic places that are completely dry.
Right.
So, and then we're actually more authentic.
Yeah. Like, what are some of the places? Is Acapulco a dry place? There's La Rosa de Michoacan, which is over in Silvis. There's Maria's.
Have you been there?
Yeah, I've been to Maria's.
Yeah, they're pretty good, man.
Yeah, they are pretty good.
Knock your socks off.
La Monarca.
Listen, my whole objective in life, the reason why I wanted to be a rock star, because I saw myself, of course, traveling from town to town and having tons of girls that wanted me and millions of dollars and having power over everything. Like, you wanted to be the Tommy Lee. But really, all I wanted to do was just eat at every Mexican restaurant across the United States.
Yeah. No, I could get behind that.
Anytime I think of doing a gig out of town, I'm being honest. Anytime I think of doing a gig out of town, the second thought that comes into my head is, where's the Mexican place? And I can't wait to sit down and try their combo.
Have you ever played in Rock Falls?
Absolutely.
Have you ever eat at Taqueria Sanchez?
God, I think so.
Damn.
I want to say, okay. Oh man.
They had that green Verde salsa that was almost kind of like egg yolk textured, but just.
I don't think I didn't make it to that one because this one was connected to the place we played. Where we ate, it was some. Normal Kelly's or something it was called, and they were Mexican.
Right.
But they were doing it pretty authentic, and it was pretty good. I don't know. I'll have to.
Now, I mean, you say Kelly, but I mean, you're not talking about like Carlos O'Kelly's.
No.
Because that is an abomination. That is an abomination on food. Irish Mexican food. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it didn't last. It's gone. Isn't it?
It's gone.
It's gone.
Worst chips and salsa ever.
Yeah.
Awful. Now, okay, but you know what strain we haven't talked about though is the whole jalapenos, habaneros, the Flama strain. I mean, and they're all related too.
They're another same style.
Yeah. They're the same style as each other.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the only one that is off is the one in Rock Island. What's that one on 18th or what's one is in? Oh my gosh, I can't remember. La
Primavera?
I think that's what it is.
Primavera?
Where you could actually get like beef tongue.
Oh,
and all that.
Lengua.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they have all the chopped up, the onions and stuff. They bring you out a taco. It's got meat and a tortilla.
Yeah, that's it.
And you just, what's this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
This ain't Rudy. They don't have a mountain of yellow cheese melted on top of it.
That's the thing. Like the first time I ever got an authentic taco, there was no cheese. There was no tomato.
By the way, fuck you, Rudy's, because I love, don't get me wrong, I love Rudy's.
Yeah.
I grew up on Rudy's, the one that was on 18th Avenue in Rock Island. Yeah. The only one that was there, the little shit. Oh, no, there was a couple, but
there was one.
That's the one I went to.
There was one down in the West End, too.
Okay. This is when they used to, you got the small combo, they'd microwave it to where the enchilada stuck to your plate and you ate some paper with it.
Right.
You know, that
some
was
cheese paper.
That was back in the day.
Yeah, it was a little fiber, some extra fiber.
Absolutely,
They were
and
taking care of you.
so that I fell in love with Rudy's. That was absolutely the only thing that I wanted to eat when I was a kid.
Yeah, small combo.
Mom, can we please have Rudy's? That would be birthdays.
Really?
Any time that I've been good, it would always, my bribery thing was Rudy's.
Yep.
And so I grew up doing that, and I remember it was $6 for like the large combo or something when I was a kid. And you know, as an adult, I kind of fell away from the Rudy's thing because I decided at some point I wanted to get in shape for a while, and so I kind of lost my touch with that type of food.
Right.
And then I went back to it recently, and I went to one of these new hybrid Rudy's, like the one on Elmore. That I'm like,
I don't know.
It just ain't the same. You go in there, and I ordered it, and I'm thinking, okay, I want the large combo, and they're like $12. And then they give it to me, and there's no cheese on anything.
What?
Well, there's some cheese. But you remember how it used to be just a big yellow casserole?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. And then they said, well, that's an extra like $2.50 for cheese on your burrito and your enchilada.
Dude.
And I'm like, this is not the Rudy's that I fell in love with, man.
Nope, goodbye.
You've turned corporate, and this is this is Mexican food. It's supposed to be cheap.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
I could take my girlfriend to Azteca and literally pay $9 for dinner for both of us. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, it's a Fender guitar. It's supposed to be cheap. This is Mexican food. It's supposed to be cheap. This is a Mexican Fender. It's supposed to be cheap.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tie everything together here. There is an episode of the show Weeds that where one of the main characters, Andy, he decides he's going to be a coyote, right? So he and what the coyote is somebody who schleps illegals across the border.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
You get the illegals across the border. Well, he decides he's going to be a coyote, and he goes down there, and he's like, okay, I'm going to get you guys across the border, and I'm going to get you set up with where you need to go. Where are you guys going to in the United States? And before God and country and the world, this Mexican actor looks at the main character and says, we're going to Davenport, Iowa.
That's awesome. And they all ended up here.
They did, man. And, you know, I mean, like you look
that explains this gut.
This is where I'm at. Is that as far as just straight up ground beef taco, if you want a ground beef taco that is going to just kick your ass, kick your balls, and is just going to fucking rule, the place to go is Adolph's and Sons on Kennedy Drive, right there on the border. I believe this. I believe this through and through. And you go there on Tuesday nights, it's Taco Tuesday. Nice little alliteration, which is great. You just say, hey, it's Taco Tuesday. Let's go.
You know, when people move away from here, the first things that they usually talk about when they're gone for a few months is, I can't wait to come home because I can't wait to have a Whitey's ice cream. Or where do you know, the Belgian Village.
Sure.
We have like
Frank's Pizza.
Well, Belgian Village, they have, isn't that like the only place that you would go to get that stupid sauerkraut that, what is that thing called?
Reuben.
Reuben.
Yeah, get a Reuben sandwich over there.
Aren't them like the best Reubens ever or something?
You know, I'd love to comment on it, but I've never actually had one at the Belgian Village Inn.
Really?
Yeah, I've never had one.
There are people that would slap you right now because they don't live here and they would love to have one.
They're like, get out of the Quad Cities. You're worthless.
Well, that's another one of them hometown things that kind of took over. Harris.
And
didn't Harris come from here?
Yeah, Harris came from here, but supposedly the original recipe that Harris uses was purchased from the Yankee Clipper Supper Club.
That's what I heard too. That Marge actually owned it.
That was Marge's recipe.
Is that true?
That's what I heard. I don't know if that's really true, but it would kick ass if it was, man.
And we're talking about the Yankee Clipper at the foot of the Centennial Bridge. That is now the Clipper condos.
Condos. That's exactly right. You know, the status has been elevated.
Have you been to the Clipper before?
The Yankee Clipper when it was still there?
Yeah.
Oh, God, yes.
Okay, because you're a bit younger than me, right?
Oh, I'm a little bit younger, but
okay.
I have to say, I'm proud to say that the first really good time where I cut loose and just fucking didn't give a shit and just partied was at the Yankee Clipper. Because up to that point, I wasn't convinced that alcohol culture was really for me. I would go to bars and stuff, and the sexual tension was just palpable. You know what I mean? Like, you'd get in there and everybody was eyeballing each other, and you couldn't cut loose, man. You always felt like you had to live up to something,
Right.
Whereas you get down to the Yankee Clipper, nobody gave a fuck. Everybody was just completely crazy, dude. Fucking smoking bowls in the booths and shit.
Travis, when I was my first gig at the Yankee Clipper, I think I was probably the first band I was in, Smash Alley or something with with some guys, and it was my first band. I was probably 15, 16, something. It was
that Deborah Butler's older brother?
Well, I don't know. I know Mike Moen was a drummer.
Yep.
Steve Kistner was a guitar player, and Vince Vince was the bass player, and they had a singer, but he quit like right when I came into the band. They quit, and then the other guys started singing without him. Anyway, my first gig with this band is 6 nights at the Clipper.
Yeah,
and I'm a teenager.
All right.
I answered some ad in some newspaper, and that's legit, right? When your mom's reading the paper and she goes, Brian, hey, look, this says here this band needs a guitar player. Call their manager at this number. That's the real shit.
Yeah, they must be serious.
Yeah, so I call that number, and it's a lady.
Oh.
And she's like, well, if you think that you can, got what it takes to come try out, then, meet me at this gas station and I'll drive you out to the farmhouse that they practice at, because I couldn't drive. So I had my mom drop me off at the gas station on the west end of Davenport with a guitar case and a PV Bandit, right?
Yep. You walk across town with that shit for band practice. I would do that
I'm
shit.
going to be in a band,
exactly,
you know what I mean?
Man.
And this is my big break. This is how it starts, man.
Start walking in rhythms, thinking about music.
Angel. Yeah.
Dude,
so
totally.
Got out of my mom's minivan, out into the city streets. Yeah. And so I'm standing there, and this girl comes, picks me up in this little car, right? And I'm going, this ain't right. It's supposed to be a stretch limo, ain't it?
Right.
This is, and of course we're joking around here. But so she takes me out to this farmhouse, and there's these guys standing there, like, and they're all long hair, because this is when it was the shit.
This is the height of it.
And so they all got long hair, and the drummer is out, I don't know, probably smoking pot or something outside, and he comes in, he's got super long black hair, and he's like, looks at me like, what's with this guy? You know what I mean? And I'm like, and I'll describe what I look like.
Yeah.
Rolled pants.
Yep.
Okay. Pulled up. Shirt tucked in. Button up shirt. To here. Okay.
Yep.
And I might have left the top button undone, getting wild. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
get your one chest hair out.
Bowl cut.
Yeah. Right. Bowl cut.
Glasses.
Oh, dude.
Wham bam. Thank you, ma'am. And they looked at me and they're like, really? And it ends up that the girl that brought me out there was a drummer's sister.
Right.
Manager.
Sure.
So, and they're looking at me like, what's this? And then when Vince finally, the bass player is like, yeah, okay, let's just go. Well, what songs did you learn? And he said, you ready? Let's do Sleazy Come Easy Go. And I was like, I started playing Easy Come Easy Go by Tesla.
Right.
So I had learned the wrong song.
Oh.
But I knew the shit out of Easy Come Easy Go by Tesla.
Right.
And which has like a solo and coming at you live and all that stuff. And
I did it.
I did it. And they all had to decide then. I felt it because we played like 2 songs, right? And I'm like, I wonder if I did okay. Boat shoes on, pants rolled up, nerd kid. And these guys are all long-haired, shirts open, necklaces, hairy chest, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hung over from the night before probably, And they go out in the other room and they go, I can hear them.
Yeah. Kid's pretty good.
No, first word is, he looks like shit.
He looks like shit. Right.
But he's good, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
He can always grow his hair. So
see, no, we need to talk about that. We need to talk about that, Brian. Because, like, all right, so a little backstory about the history between me and Brian. Me and Brian met, and I know I'm using incorrect English, so everybody fuck off.
That's what I love about Travis.
Yeah. So anyway, me and Brian met in the 97X Griggs guitar contest in the preliminary rounds down at stage 2, I think. And, nothing egomaniacal about that shit. And, and I think, and we probably eyeballed each other a little bit, and we both saw that each other could play, But then you called me. Like somebody put my number in your hand, and you called me. And that was the first time that our insecurities passed like 2 ships in the night. Yeah. Do you remember that? You called me. And I was afraid when you called me. I was afraid like I was going to, I don't know, like not measure up or like it was going to be like a guitar battle or like I was afraid
I was calling to challenge you to a shred off in the middle of the street.
Right. Or like I would think that like, that you would want to have me play songs that I didn't want to play. And I didn't want to have like battles with you over that. Because, I mean, you were like bigger than me too. You probably would have beat my ass.
Were we going to try to start a band?
Yeah, well, you were trying to find people for your band.
Okay.
And so this was the nature of it. So that was my insecurity. And then I think I remember you telling me later on when we actually started becoming friends and talking and shit, like you were like, I just thought you were too good. Like you were too good to come play in this band. Like you
I
just
said
like,
that?
Yeah.
Man.
And no, but I mean, that would make perfect sense though. You know, like Travis, he just thinks he's too fucking good to come and play in my band or whatever.
Well, when you get young egos involved.
And that's what it was.
And we're comparing the size of our dicks basically.
Yeah.
And you get a guitar player that's in your realm and you extend yourself to say, hey, I respect you
right.
as a player.
Let's work together.
And I'm showing you that by me asking you because I think I'm the shit.
Right.
That's my ego. That's not your ego.
Right.
That's me saying, asking you, you had better say yes. Otherwise, you're saying that you're better than me and I'm shit.
Exactly.
So that's
what I mean. It was both of us operating from insecure, positions.
Yeah, what your answer was supposed to be, Travis, like,
oh yes,
is this Brian Miner?
Oh my good God.
The Brian Miner?
The Brian Miner.
You want me to play in your band?
MINER Miner?
I might even let you do a solo here and there.
Yeah, right. It probably would have been all right. But anyway, so, this is something that like when when you talk about your early days with playing and getting together in bands and stuff, and then I think about like where I was at with the bands and what it is that we were doing, like you guys were much more plugged into the idea of marketability and saleability and image and all of that stuff. Like not only did I have no idea about it, I just like thought it sucked. You know what I mean? I was just like, man, fuck that. I mean, just dude looks all right. He plays the guitar like a fucking madman, and you better respect that beyond anything. So fine. So you got to put a wig on him or whatever because that's your trip. You know what, dude? That's fucking bullshit. And I think for me, because like if you look at, and I know we've had our discussions about this in the past, but if you look at like what it was that we were listening to at that time and how it was we were kind of deriving our power as, instrumentalists, like I was already way on board with Metallica. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And those guys were like they were the anti-cultural underdog heroes because they didn't have any radio play. They had no music videos. They were just these greasy, pimply dudes.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I was part of that whole transition too.
Yeah. And I know you were, but like you were more on the hair side.
Let me tell you why that happened.
Yeah.
Okay. You go to where you fit in, and the only way I can describe that is when the Metallica thing happened. I tried to go down that road, and I remember being at band practices. I was in a band called Axon Province.
You were in that band. That's right.
I was in a band called Axon Province.
Because Chris Graber was like the Metallica
Bible.
man of all time.
He knew every riff of every riff that ever existed. Megadeth, Slayer, Metallica. He was the big four.
Holy man. He is the holy man of the big four.
He was the holy grail of the big four.
Shout out to Chris.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Mike Berry was on the drums at that time.
Mike Berry on the drums. That's right.
And when that whole thing came around, I was in that because I remember I went to the fair to see this band, and this is long-winded. We don't give a shit.
No. And is that when Jarvis Zuber was singing for him and like the cops came and shit? Dude, I was there.
Yes.
I did not know you were there.
I was absolutely there because I remember walking through the fair and I heard that and like my radar went, somebody's fucking playing Master at Puppets.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And like back then that was like brand new. You know what I mean? And like you didn't have time to learn the solos and that shit. That that had only been out for like a couple months.
There were no tabs.
Right.
There were none of that. There
no
were no
YouTubes
fucking,
and shit to learn it.
Yeah, you can get nothing of that.
And so they're jamming this and the drummer's doing it and everybody was doing it. And I remember stopping and watching them and I think they were missing a bass player though or something wasn't 100% with the band.
Yeah.
There was somebody that something wasn't right. I can't remember what it was.
The singer wasn't the real singer. I think it was the singer. It was that Jarvis was doing it, but like at the beginning, they bust into Master of Puppets and tell me if you remember this. He starts in and he comes in on Into Passion Play early and he goes, oh fuck, right? Just like shouts the fucking F-bomb right into the microphone.
That's awesome, man.
Dude, and the sheriff is like, it's supposed to be a family
is that
deal.
what got him shut down?
I think so, dude. It was Zuber, dude.
I was there, and the fact that they got shut down, I didn't see what was happening and why they got shut down, but the fact that they did get shut down and they were playing Megadeth and Metallica, I was in love. I was like, I got to find out who the fuck these guys are.
Iron Maiden, they're doing Iron Maiden.
They were doing it all, and I was like, this is the shit. Yeah. And I was just a guitar player then. I had no inkling of thinking about wanting to sing.
Right.
And so I go over and I jam at Chris's house. Somehow, I don't know how it happens, but I end up going over to Graber's house, which is across the street from the fairgrounds.
Right.
Remember, he had a house right there by that pizza place.
God damn.
Anyway, so a lot of people don't even know what we're talking about, but anyway, so he lives there, and we're in the basement there, and this is back when you're kids, man. You know, Metallica posters on your wall. His girlfriend's coming by, and they're like just sitting there kind of depressed, and they break up every other week and shit, right. And he's like, "Fuck that bitch, man," and we just go to the cabinets and raid all the food, you know what I mean, and drink all the everything, and then go down in the basement and play Metallica songs, you know what I mean? Right.
It's like all day old shit from the Hostess store.
And I remember his mom came home, it was everybody out, you know what I mean? And I understand that now, that being a parent. Oh, yeah. If I come home, my kids have like 4 other guys here with long hair and skinny jeans on and devil horns on their belt buckles and shit, and they're eating all of our food, and they're like, "Hey, what's up, Mr. Minor?"
Yeah,
get the fuck out of my house.
Get the fuck out. Exactly. It's dad mode, dude. You start getting up. You know?
I was that kid that'd be sitting in the recliner eating their Chips Ahoy, like "What's up?" You know what I mean? So, yeah, I just remember that. And anyway, so we were doing all these Metallica songs. We started writing originals at that point. Because they were wanting to do originals. I remember they were starting originals, and that's what opened my eyes to, there's like-minded people that want to do their own thing. Right. And so I wrote a few songs with them, and they did... on one of these episodes, I'm going to spin one of the Axe and Province tunes off of that THIQ.
You got it, yeah. That was in the Chad Agan, Mike Muir sounding vocals, and Suicidal Tendencies. And, yeah.
Oh man, then were our glory days, I guess.
Sure.
When that style of metal hit this area, I was like fine with the guitar playing. I could do that.
Right.
Virtuoso guitar players, because that's what metal had then. It was virtuoso guitar players.
Yep.
In harmonies, 2 guitar players usually in a metal band.
That's right.
And then, all they did was play guitar, and every once in a while go, kill. Like yelling, died. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, Yeah, right. And then until you get to Dave Mustaine, who was doing it all himself. That dude's a freak.
Speaking of which, before we deviate too far from metal and the subject of people that sing and play in a way that is just it's fucking stupid, like it just blows your mind. I saw a band, and they've been out for a while, but I saw a video from a live band called Necrophagist.
Oh my god.
Have you listened to this guy?
I have not.
He is like the neoclassical master, dude. He's like Yngwie Malmsteen on fucking PCP, but then he does it and sings while he's doing it, and of course it's the super duper guttural. It's not really singing, I mean, it's like
Okay, now how much of that is, because you got to touch on this, how much of that is like circus amazement factor, and how much of it is like how Orion affected you musically?
Right, exactly. And
you know what I mean? Is it really moving you, or is it like, wow, that dude's freaky?
No, and it to me at this point, and I haven't really brought this up, but my relationship to metal at this point really is one that is more tentative and hilarious. I mean, my relationship to metal now is something that is so not serious at all. To me, it's like, it would be like, when you're a kid and you're watching WWF. Okay. And like you think it's like fucking badass, dude.
Is it because you know it's fake?
It's because you know it's fake now. Yeah, so now I look at it and I can still appreciate it, and I can still look at, and it's technical wizardry,
But it was real though to us.
It was real, yeah.
It was validated because when we put on that hat and we went out and did it, we felt different.
Now like I'll listen to I'll just throw this out there, like Cannibal Corpse, right? Cannibal Corpse, they're a death metal band, been around a long time. I'd say they're one of the seminal kind of Tampa Bay area death metal bands. And, for me, listening to them is like watching a sitcom. It's just so over the top, insanely brutal that it is actually funny. And you read the lyrics.
I completely understand what you're saying.
It's so funny to me. And I enjoy it. I do enjoy it. But it's a different type of enjoyment. I'm not down in the trenches anymore thinking like it's real,
Absolutely. And let me get back to the one thing that before I lose my...
Yeah, let's have it.
My train of thought.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
The reason why I ended up into that hair metal, the Skid Row kind of thing... is because as I went into the original idea of writing songs with bands, I was always thrusted into the position of ended up being the singer. Oh. And I never really chose that.
I didn't know that.
No, it always just kind of, I kept getting pushed into that position.
I just remember like Chris Noth told me one day over at Griggs, he told me he was like, he was putting in a disc and he's like, oh, this is some rough mix from Brian Miner's band. And he put it on and it was all, you know, and I was like, wow, who's singing? And he goes, that's Brian. I'm like, you're fucking kidding me, man. Really?
That's interesting because to hear me singing is a whole nother subject. Do you remember the first time you heard your voice on tape?
Oh yeah. And I still don't like it.
What is it with when you're singing, the voice in here doesn't sound like the voice that comes back on the playback?
I know exactly
why. And
a
true professional knows that variance and can kind of harness that.
I've accepted it.
Because when I'm singing, I'm laying the track, say in the studio or writing a song or whatever, and you do your take and you're like, damn, that was pretty cool. And you play it back and there's like that little flat here and it's not the same voice that you I thought I yelled harder there. It sounded thicker.
Yep.
I've always been insecure about my voice. Sure. And the reason why Drophammer existed was because and the reason it sounded the way it did was because my sensibilities came from Pantera and Metallica, and all my riffs were heavy. Right. You know, there was a lot of double bass and syncopated stuff because I was trying to emulate the heavier bands, but my vocal styles, I cannot sing like Metallica. I can't bark like that. My voice just didn't do that. So I had to kind of find a genre of metal that I related to, and and the Skid Row and the Maiden and that type of thing, Halloween and all that was more my style and what I could sing in my car and Dream Theater, you know.
But when you have a voice like that, though, and I think you did a good job of it. I mean, it played up enough to, you know, the pop aspect of hair metal without totally succumbing to, you know. I
always believe that there should be some sort of melodic hook or something that's interesting about a song.
I'm with that.
The riff, it has to be a pretty damn good riff to carry the entire song.
I agree with you there. Know? And I used to try to write songs that way, and it just don't work, man.
Right. Well, when I first sat down to write songs, I was trying to impress myself and other people around me, you know, the bass player and whoever else is in the band, like bringing this riff to them, like, oh no, it's like this, and they're like, okay, here we go, Brian's got a fucking riff. Exactly. He's got to show off how tight he can play the guitar with us, and after a while you just wish that you had just hit a chord,
right,
you know what I mean? He's like,
sung some shit over the top of it.
You know, I was trying to show off, and it was an insecurity. It's like, if I'm going to be a musician, I've got to be the best one that there is. You know what I mean? I can't just be a musician.
Exactly. No, you know? No. And, you know, I mean, I think that is the thing that, like, what ends up happening is very much like.
And don't anybody steal that riff that I just hummed either. That was a pretty cool riff.
That was pretty badass. I was thinking about stealing it. But
it's double bass on.
I'll write bass on.
Ooh, counter. You're going. Oh, you're countering it.
You're descending.
See?
I'm upsending.
See, now
I'm ascending.
If it's true that there are an infinite amount of dimensions and ways that we could go in our life,
sure.
In some dimension, you and I did get in a band together.
We did,
and we rule the fucking world right now.
That's true.
And that was our hit song right there.
That's true. And in some dimension, we became gay lovers.
So, in another dimension, we weren't even born.
That's right. So thank goodness we've got the dimension we've got.
When the 80s thing was going on and I was coming into being my own person and finding out who I was, the poster child for what I thought was where I needed to go, the father figure that I had, you know, was like Paul Stanley you know, Ace Frehley, the rock stars.
Right, the rock stars.
You know, all these guys that I looked up to that way, they were larger than life. So I felt like I had to be that way.
Yeah.
Because if I'm emulating that, isn't everybody trying to emulate that? I thought that was the avenue. We all had to end up there to where we were not of normal flesh or something. You know, I know that sounds really bad.
No, that it doesn't sound bad. And, you know, for me, it was Eddie Van Halen because my dad just like worshipped Eddie Van Halen. My dad, you know, the guy that I was set up to vindicate, actually like worshipped Eddie Van Halen, you know, and I would listen to these Eddie Van Halen solos and I would just be bowled over by, you know, not just the speed or the technique of it, but like the sound of it, the tone of it, you know.
Do you remember the first time hearing it?
I do. I remember the first time I hearing it. I can tell you the whole scenario. We went downtown into downtown Davenport, me and my dad. We drove down there.
How old are you?
I am 7 years old.
Okay.
No, I take that back. Yeah, no, I'm 7 years old.
That's quite a memory.
It's okay. I'm 7 years old, and we drive down there in the newly acquired 1983 model year Dodge Challenger, black and tan interior, and we drive down to the Curiosity Shop in downtown Davenport, which was a head shop. They sold, bongs and pipes and all that kind of stuff.
How dare they?
Oh, I know, bastards. But they also sold music down there. This particular model of car that my parents had an 8-track player in it, and he put it in on the drive home. I was in the back seat. That was back before car seats and shit. I was sitting on the hump in between the two. My dad put in the 8-track, and I heard, dude. Right? Heard that shit, and I was like, oh, what is this? And
it was like God was speaking through the speakers to you.
Totally, man. Just everything sounded so pure.
If there was
so
ever
clear.
a God, that was the one that you were going to pray to, because that it moved you, didn't it?
Yeah.
Changed shit.
Yeah, it did change shit. Although I will tell you, up to that point, favorite band in the world was Kiss.
Absolutely. Rock and roll.
They were my favorite band in the world. I was a Gene Simmons devotee.
Really?
Yeah, I can remember.
So that was too obvious for me.
I remember being in kindergarten, man. So here's some other old shit, man. I started kindergarten when I was 4, and I remember being 4 years old for the first couple weeks in kindergarten. And in the first 2 weeks of kindergarten, I wore my brand new Gene Simmons sparkle iron-on.
Oh, did he have his tongue out?
He had his tongue out.
Oh, I had that iron on from somewhere.
Yep. All right. Okay. Well, check this shit out. Right. My mom is super diligent about ironing clothes. Well, she accidentally ironed that thing, and she melted the plastic.
Smeared it.
She smeared it. Well, then she tried to put a paper towel on it, and that shit stuck. And I still wore that motherfucker. Tell me if you remember this. When you very first started playing guitar, and the very first time you did something that was new, that was your own thing, it was the greatest song ever. It was amazing. You could just play this thing, and you never heard it before, and it was your thing, and you just felt like it was the coolest thing of all time. And then time went on, and you realized, nope, you suck.
Actually, my experience with that would be when I first started. I had no music, any classes, any lessons, anything.
Right, yeah, me either.
Mom took me down to, if you could tell me, was it Bowlby's?
Bowlby's Music, yeah.
By the Clipper.
Yeah.
Right down the street.
Yeah.
Was a little music store there, and all they had in there was really acoustic guitars and. The place is kind of dark to me. I can't really remember it that well. I just remember it was small, and they gave lessons in this little tiny room in the back.
Right.
And my mom. Yeah, I don't know who it was that gave me the lesson. It was an older guy.
Mike Minert?
I guess. I don't know. I can't remember things like that. All I remember is Mom getting the guitar, renting it. There was an acoustic, and saying, "You're going to play like Neil Diamond." And in my mind, I had other plans, but I wasn't going to tell my mom this yet, because as soon as I get it, she got me in there, signed up for the guy. I think it was $5 or something like that for a half hour or something back then.
Oh, that's cheap.
Yeah, and so they throw me in this room with the guy, and he's looking at me. He's like, "Okay, here we go," and I'm sitting there, and as soon as my mom was out, door shut, teach me Detroit Rock City. And he went, whoa, 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 whoa. I was like, I want to know Kiss, and he said, "You got to learn the fundamentals first." And immediately I was like, fuck the fundamentals.
Dude, here's my point. Detroit Rock City is the fundamental.
Yeah. I'm ready to put some makeup on and take over the world here. So, because in this kid's mind, I was 7 when I picked up the guitar.
Yeah.
In this kid's mind, all I had to do was get as good as Ace Frehley.
Dude.
And I was going to be able to take over the world.
Exactly.
I've said this before.
Absolutely.
A kid's mind is very easily, jaded, I guess, or
it's influence. It's impressionable.
It's influence. So the 7-year-old kid that still believed in Santa Claus,
right,
thinks that all he's got to do
Ace Frehley,
right, and Ace Frehley, and Paul Stanley,
and Paul Stanley, right? Yeah.
So I believed in this hook, line, and sinker, and I thought, well, if I could play that good, then I'll be as big as them. They both relate,
right?
being able to spin on this. Yeah, absolutely. And when you can figure that out, you're off.
It's like, wow, man, I could play the entire outro to Greengrass and High Tide. You know what I mean? It's like,
but this guy was trying to teach me Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Right.
And I wasn't having it. And so I said, I told my mom, I said, I'm done with the lessons.
Yeah.
And I went up in my room and I put on Kiss Alive 2.
Yep.
You're one of the best. You got the best. You know,
right.
And and I sat there with my guitar until I could make this. Yeah. See, the dude tuned my guitar for me. So now I knew where to start from. I had a good starting point because before that it was I didn't know what to do with it, right? You didn't know how to tune a guitar yet. You didn't have a YouTube where you can type in how to tune a guitar. You know, you had to figure it out.
Right.
And so I don't know that guy tuned it for me.
Yep.
Thank you. That's all I needed. Went back to my Kiss records.
Right.
And figured out where it was, kind of.
How did you figure? Okay, so maybe this is jumping ahead a little bit, but how did you figure out how to tune a guitar?
He did it for me.
Right. Well, he did it. But
I watched him.
But eventually, like, you had to figure out how to do it yourself. I mean, did you?
What he did was he went 5th fret, bow down, right. And then that one was kind of. When I initially got home, I probably tuned it all the same. Right.
I did that a couple times.
And because I wasn't doing D chords yet, I was still just kind of going dan or dan or dan or dan.
Right.
You know. So and then I finally got the intro to Detroit Rock City, which wasn't even right. But in my head, I was doing it in half tones.
Oh, right.
And it was a full step.
Right, a whole step.
I just knew it went down and up, like dan or dan or dan. And I got the first one right. But I couldn't quite tell if it was right.
But at least you had the idea that if you shortened the string and lengthened the string with the frets, that it gave you, different notes. You had that idea.
And then from there, it was a slow move into being able to actually pull off. You were how old when this started? 7.
Oh, shit.
So I'm 7 years old, and I'm trying to do the dan, and I'm getting the right hand and the left hand to kind of be on the same page.
Yeah.
And I just remember there was one time when I was up there in my room doing it, that just things kind of, the wiring just all kind of went, okay, all right, I got it. And it connected in my right hand. I couldn't miss.
Right, yeah.
And, I could, you know what I mean? It just connected. It seemed like they were working together.
You understood the relationship.
Right. And then so I kept, and I could do a do. Whoa. You know what I mean? Do that again.
Yeah.
And then I started fucking with myself.
Right.
Because I was a crazy little kid.
Right.
And I was like, okay, if you want to be like Ace Frehley, you have to do that lick 10 times flawlessly before you can go to bed.
You got to say your prayers, boy.
10 times.
Yep.
Without not even a not even a
Nope.
10 times. Now I got to start over.
Yep.
And I would do that over and over and over and over and over. And I would not let myself go to sleep unless I fell asleep on the guitar.
Yeah.
And when that's like what you say, I started looking at it as a game.
Yep, as a game.
And I had to master this game.
Right.
And in my head, if I put the guitar down before 10 perfect successions of that lick, I was giving up on being a guitar player.
Exactly.
The Ace Frehley shrine would not be achieved.
The juice, right. Because the juice is, I couldn't do this, and now I can.
Yeah.
The juice is, see, I did it. I made it happen. I am a guitar player. Anybody who could look at me and could see that I could do this, let's say 10 times, could say, oh, that Brian Miner, he's a guitar player.
And then my whole guitar playing vernacular went from Destroyer.
Right.
And then that came out.
Oh, see,
at the same time I was figuring out how to do. I'm sorry for anybody that's just listening to it. I'm pointing to the Destroyer record, Kiss Destroyer, and then going to Yngwie Malmsteen Rising Force.
Now, Yngwie's album here, does that have Black Star at the beginning of it?
Absolutely.
Okay. See, now that is the one that I've heard. I think that really is his definitive work, and I didn't hear that. You're gonna shit your pants. I didn't hear that until 2002.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Probably good for you. Travis, because when I heard it, that changed the whole game.
Dude, the tones are so bell-like and pure, though. The high-frequency content coming from the single coil pickups. Because I never heard that album, it never occurred to me that I wanted to do anything except play humbucking pickups, because that's Metallica.
I didn't hear any of that. I didn't know what a humbucker was. I didn't know what a single coil was. I didn't know what anything other than the harmony guitar I had.
You look at the front cover of that album, and you can see that is a Stratocaster guitar.
Yes, it is.
Looks pretty stock. It doesn't look like it's any kind of street sleeper that's got special
and it's got a chick holding it up out of the fire.
That's badass, dude.
What it means, I have no idea. It's like I burn my bitches while they hold my guitar. I don't know what it
Okay,
anyway.
here's the point: is it's a cock.
Oh, that's right.
It's a cock, and this woman has got her hand on it.
Okay.
And is holding
and
it
that's
up
what it
out
said
of
to
the
you.
fire. That's right.
Yeah.
The point is phallic.
So I think what would I have been? I don't know. I must have been the next guitar player that came into my reality. Was Yngwie Malmsteen. Okay, so Ace Frehley to Yngwie Malmsteen.
Yeah. So you skipped Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen wasn't nobody to you.
He didn't come into my world until much later, like Yngwie did for you.
Okay.
It wasn't in the 2000s.
Sure.
But it wasn't something that was real to me yet.
Yeah. Because
because it wasn't being played around me.
Well, George Lynch still isn't real to me. I don't really know.
Right.
I don't understand it. You know what I mean?
That's another one that just it came at the right time.
Yep.
Because Yngwie didn't only shred.
No.
That dude so many people put him into that category, but he was so ahead of his time. I mean, when shredders come out now and they're like what you're talking about with the complete neoclassical thing going on.
Right.
That's wonderful and great, and guys are so good at it now that I've given up and even trying to like it.
But it's like country guitar playing at this point. Nobody's blazing any trail. All they're doing is perfecting what's there. That is what they're doing.
Spearheaded that movement to me.
He did.
There might have been somebody before him that I didn't realize.
Uli John Roth was the guitar player for the Scorpions, and he basically did that. Richie Blackmore had little bits of it in Deep Purple. Uli John Roth made it absolutely solid when he did Wings of Theron or Wings of Sharon, because the beginning of that song, it's Yngwie, dude. Like you listen to it, it is like Yngwie. But
did them motherfuckers wear Beethoven sleeve shirts?
That's
and shit,
what it was.
And fucking in the furly shirts in the front.
It was weird. But if you look at that though, if you think about the lineage of those players, they're all Hendrix guys.
Hendrix wore that shit.
Which Hendrix wore that shit, and Hendrix always played a Fender Strat, which that is exactly what Richie Blackmore did. That's exactly what Uli John Roth did, and that is exactly what Yngwie Malmsteen did.
And another thing is his name was Yngwie Malmsteen.
Yeah, there is.
You know what I mean?
You don't mistake that name. Oh, by the way, it's Yngwie J.
Yngwie J. Malmsteen. What does the J stand for?
Johann.
Johann, motherfucker. Johann.
I just guessed that shit. Because if it's J, it's got to be Johann.
My name is Brian Anthony Minor.
Really? My name is...
How can you fucking compete with Yngwie Malmsteen? You know what I mean? As a guitar player. My name is Yngwie Malmsteen. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck, you already shred, dude.
That's exactly.
I already had to use most of my brain just to say your name.
I just got fucking cock slapped by your name.
Yeah, can you imagine the guitar contest? That was Travis Williams. Next we have Brian Minor, and after that we have a Yngwie J. Malmsteen. I quit. I'm out.
Winner. We have a winner, ladies and gentlemen.
He's got furly shit on and long hair, and he's over there practicing flipping his guitar around his shoulder and catching it in the middle of an arpeggio. Yeah, I think I'm done.
Exactly.
You know what? We got to harness this bitch, because what I got to do is, apparently, aside from this podcast, I've got to promote some things.
Okay, let's bust it out.
And so this podcast, being episode 9, what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of promote a show that's coming up, and, what better show to promote than my own, right?
Oh, right.
But anyway, Rascals is one of our sponsors, and Drophammer is going to be playing up at Rascals on the 23rd of November.
Yeah.
And we've got a couple other bands playing with us, Drama Major, and another band, Blacklight District.
Blacklight District, which their song is #1 on Sirius Radio right now. Oh, really?
I believe so. And yet again, Drophammer has been notorious for having their ass handed to them by their opening band.
But you're not going to let it happen this time.
No, I don't really care. We're headlining it, so it's like, and when the guys from Cinderella were there last weekend or something, from with the Cheap Thrill.
Yeah.
It was, you don't care, I know, but Brandon Gibb, Jeff LaBar from Cinderella, and Eric Brittingham, and the drummer, I'm sorry if it escapes me, I don't mean to be rude, the drummer from Collective Soul.
Oh, really?
I forgot his name. Anyway, they're on the same band together. They played up there at Rascals, and they came in and they saw these flyers, these Drophammer flyers on the tables in there, and Eric Brittingham and Jeff LaBar go, "Oh, that's cool. Who's is that the Black Label? I'm sorry, Black Light District,
right?
The one that's on Sirius." And Kenny's like, "Yeah," and they're going, "Well, why are they opening for Drophammer?" And I'm like, "Hey, listen, motherfucker, that's Drophammer, and I don't know why they're opening for us."
Somebody put this shit together, man.
No, I didn't say that, but they were just kind of blown away that band is actually opening. I'm selling this gig great, ain't I? Come see us get our ass kicked.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to go ahead and spin what their radio song is. It's the most added to radio. They don't have an official video for it, so what I'll do is I'll play the video that's like the lyric video.
All right.
Or whatever. But you're gonna find out. Yeah, these guys are very competitive here.
So we're back.
We're back.
All right. So what was the band we just did? That was
we just did
Black
Light District. Which, like I said, Drophammer is very used to having opening bands stomp our ass because we're kind of a old late 90s kind of sound,
right?
And these newer bands obviously have that tuned down kind of whoop your ass kind of mentality, the testosterone thing, and we're more of like a girly Firehouse meets Skid Row kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, you predate the infusion. you predate the infusion of hip hop into metal. And
dude,
that's
did
a
I not?
distinct line.
No, I about threw up the other day. Am I mistaken, or are they making a genre of rap country?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. That's been going on since Big and Rich.
Oh my God.
And,
well, no. This stuff is actually somebody that sounds, hey, down on the farm, we try to get down, bang.
Yeah.
I'm like, what in the fuck is this?
Yeah, no, that's serious.
Are you
man.
serious? Because I used to joke about it, like, what's next, man? Rap country?
I'm telling you, it makes sense, Brian. It makes sense. And I can tell you this, I know we've delved into my personal life with my brother a little bit, but my brother, who is a huge fan of the Dallas Cowboys, which I don't know anything about football. I don't care about football. The only thing I know is I fucking hate the Cowboys. So
then me and you could be friends.
Yeah, okay. Well, I know you're a Redskins fan. And by the way, I also wanted to tell you that the impassioned plea for sanity that you made with regard to changing the name of the Redskins was the best argument that I've ever heard for keeping the name the Redskins, because the idea that they did not name them the Redskins because they're lampooning them, but because of the fact that they are honoring their strength as their team that has their namesake marches to victory. That is the best argument to keep it. That is not. That should be a point of pride. That should be a moment of honor, because that team is not meant to lose. That's
right.
the point.
They're not making fun of anything.
They are not making fun of anything.
I wouldn't pay millions of dollars for players to name my team, the Quad City buttholes.
Yeah. Right.
So, I appreciate that you actually, you dug that. But
it's funny. I lodged that argument with somebody who was talking about that, and they were like, you're right. And I'm like, I ain't right. Brian Miner who was right.
So what happens with me is I say, okay, if you're a Bears fan, you don't understand my plight. Okay, imagine that they said that the Bears, calling a team the Bears is animal cruelty. So now they can't call them the Bears. They have to call them the Chicago deep dishes.
Right.
You still a fan?
No, I'm still a huge fan because I love deep dish pizza. I'd probably start watching. That's probably what would happen.
Right. If anything's, I don't understand what a Packers is. What's the Packers?
Oh, well, the whole point about that, as far as I can understand, is that that Chicago was where all the railroads met. They were the main railroad center. And as a result then, Illinois, with its huge pork industry, which Kewanee, Illinois, was at one point the pork production capital of the world, even eclipsed China at the time as far as anybody's estimates were concerned. And the whole reason why they were such a meat empire was, we're talking about Armour, we're talking about Hormel, these big companies, was because they had the railroad traffic there. That made it so that they could distribute, that. Well, of course, across the bay, just up the shore of Lake Michigan there, you got this place that's also vying for the meat packing empire. I see. The whole deal about the bitter rivalry that exists between those teams has to do with the corporate foundations that establish.
So why don't their fans wear a big steak on their head and it's cheese?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really fully understand that either. And the weird thing is like Green Bay, I believe Green Bay is the lowest populated metropolitan, area that actually has a pro football team. They are really kind of an anomaly, You might have actually, everybody, you might have just said the most interesting thing that's ever been said on Minor Disturbance Radio. And I thank you for that. If I could gain one listener just, when you're on the show. And it's a football fact. That makes no sense because I know almost nothing about football. But, that was one of the questions that kind of plagued me.
That was cool.
Like, what the hell?
That was cool.
Why are they calling them Green Bay Packers? But it's all about their meat packing empire.
And I'm thinking I'm going to have you on the show more often.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, because what I wanted to do is, I talked to you about this before. I wanted to kind of get out in the field and do some like rig rundowns, go find like Nate Nicholson, Scott Whitehall, and all these guys that are playing, and have them go through the rig and tell us what they're playing through and why. You brought up the idea of you want to know why they're using that.
I mean,
why didn't you use this pedal instead of this pedal?
Well, because
all that nerdy shit that nobody cares about.
Because exactly, except for other nerds. And when it comes to that kind of nerdery, I really feel like I could probably offer something pretty well developed, something fully fledged, Minor Disturbance Radio as the the sort of tone correspondent, as it were.
Yeah, I was saying you would understand most of what they're saying.
Yeah, I could maybe, and I could try to apply my skills as a translator. Maybe kind of translate it.
Let me try to clear this up.
Yeah,
I'm not an idiot.
No.
But if somebody were to say, well, I'm using this kind of tube because it does this, you'll understand that more than I would.
Right.
I'd be like,
of course,
why?
I also could, there's the man on the street. There's also the asshole. There's the asshole on the street.
I like how Dusty said, "Oh, make crunch." You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's all we know.
Yeah, make crunch. And well, it was kind of interesting. Like, it was cool, Dusty talking about last time, the phases of rigdom that he went through. Because we all, I think, as guitar players, we end up kind of going through phases of rigdom where, like, we think that this one way of doing things is the way, and that's the way we do it for that period of time. But then we come across something else that changes our minds and makes us think, oh, well, what? No, maybe there's this,
Is it interesting to think that, is it interesting to know that I've never had a rig that I really wanted? I've always had the rig that I could have and made it work.
Right.
I've never had the opportunity to have my Soldano SLO 100, or because I always thought that was my amp after I played to the one. I was like, that's the amp I gotta have.
Right. No, but I noticed that when you played that deal down at the Mark, that the SLO 100 was not prominent there on the stage. I saw the line 6, but I did not see the SLO.
I wasn't using the SLO. I went to, like I said, I never finished the story where I went to 1152's practice initially because I was going to borrow Dusty's SLO for my performance with Drophammer,
which he's got a good one.
Right, and he's got the 96. Apparently, that's good.
Yeah, right. They changed some controls on him later. They added a resonance control and did some things to it that some people like and some people don't. But Dusty's is like the stock.
It was snakeskin. That's all I saw, and it was cool as fuck.
It's snakeskin. Anybody out there in the tone world that wants to know about the SLO?
When we opened for Motley Crue, Mick Mars had like 12 of them.
Yeah.
And they were all snakeskin.
Yeah.
And
Kickstart My Heart. Right? Kickstart My Heart. That's the SLO 100.
Yep,
that's
absolutely.
that tone. There's some stuff from Van Halen 1984 that's the SLO awesome.
At first it was the Marshall stack.
Right, sure.
You had to, because everybody you saw on stage had a Marshall stack.
It's iconic, dude. The Scorpions. I mean,
right. So, and then I couldn't afford the Marshall stack because I'd go see, their Marshall box is $800. And the head is $2,000. Well, I'm gonna probably get this. You say PV's $250 a cabinet. I'll take 4 of them.
Okay.
I could have 4 PV cabinets, or I could have 1 Marshall cabinet.
So now, describe to me the first time that you actually lived the dream and played through an actual Marshall stack.
The story isn't good though.
It's never good.
It's not gonna be good.
It's never good.
It was at a buddy of mine's house when we were putting together some band and we were kids, and the dad had a JCM 900. I remember it was a full stack. I remember walking in the room.
Yep.
And there it was. And I was like, and he had a Les Paul too. His dad had the shit,
Right.
And he's like, I'll let you play through this amp. And I plugged into it and I was like, oh my God, this is gonna. And there was no low end.
Yep.
It hurt my ears.
Yep.
It was brittle.
Yep.
Something between my hands and the way it reacted gain wise did not work.
Nope. You got no sustain.
Right.
Yeah.
It brought me to when Billy Piper from Lynn Allen plays a JCM 800. Is it an 800 or 900? Either way, it's just a straight Marshall head.
Right.
With I think he's playing like a custom cab or something. It's not even a Marshall cab.
Really, it's just some whatever.
Anyway, so he's been doing it for years. It works for him. When I stand out there in the crowd and I listen, it sounds like he's got so much gain going on. It sounds so driven and dense, and the chords are just so big.
Yeah.
And then he's like, Brian, get up here, B. We're gonna play some songs. And he puts that Strat on me, and first of all, it's up. I'm like, jack that son of a bitch down.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And so, and then I kind of give it you give it the volume up, just see what that does. And I was like, dum, dum. I was like,
I got nothing.
I was like, hey, Bill.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that's how it is.
Really?
And when you go into a solo, here's this distortion box that's up here that you just kick on this distortion.
That's your extra.
That adds to it.
That's your extra.
And that makes it, and that almost just brings it to almost as much gain as I use on rhythm.
Right.
On my rig.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about, man. Yeah.
But for some reason, he's harnessed how to do that. And something with the Marshall and my fingers
I'll tell you.
There's like a delay or something.
I'll tell you, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out why this is the way it is, and it's all about the picking hand pressure. That's the whole thing, man. That the guys that get that sound out of those lower gain scheduled amplifiers like 800s and 900s and super leads and stuff, they are hard pickers. That is how they do it.
Really?
They are hard pickers. Because
it seems like I try to overcompensate by trying to pick really hard.
But that messes with your whole flow, because you're not used to the difference in the way that you actually pluck the string as compared to when you are a light picker.
Yeah, my fingers don't, they're strong, but I don't want to have to work too hard.
No.
You wear yourself out too quick that way.
No, and guys like you and me, we would crank the preamp gain up until the amp responded more like some really great amp turned all the way up.
And then when we turned into professionals, we realized that we have to turn the gain back down.
That's right.
If you know what I mean, if we're going to blend with any other guitar players, because then there's always guys that have their line 6 tone insane cranked all the way up, and we hear that somewhere. We're like, woo, is that what it sounds like when you do that to your amp?
Yeah.
And then you hear Bill with this Marshall with the gains low, and you go, that's what a guitar sounds like.
Exactly. That's the way a guitar sounds.
And the other guy's doing the buzzsaw thing. Anyway, you would notice my RG 550 on the wall. Yep. That's actually that's a 1987 real RG.
Yeah.
You can look at the serial on the back, and it's got that infamous crack on the
Gotta have it. Yeah. Yep. That inside crack.
So anyway, you noticed that, and what made me think of that, it reminds me of getting back to this gig that we're playing at Rascals, is Wes, who's in Drama Major. He's the singer in Drama Major. He's got dreads. He's the good-looking guy.
Now, is it Drama Major or is it Drama Major?
I think, drama always has to take center stage.
Drama major.
Like drama major.
Like you're a drama major. Drama.
Okay.
Drama.
Okay. Do I say it wrong? Is that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just wondered about it, because if it was drama major, then it sounds like it's like a constellation or something.
Like there's a drama
minor
majoris,
and then drama major.
Or a part of a vagina.
Exactly.
Drama majoris.
Totally.
But so anyway, his son. Wes's son was up. We were rehearsing at the wherever we rehearsed down there at the Harbor View building where all the bands rehearse. And I was rehearsing down there, and I had my rig that I've used for years.
Which is
actually it's all PV.
Right, yeah.
I have the 4 PV cabinets, which I only use 2 of them.
Right.
The both bottoms.
Right.
And then,
Gotta do.
They're front loaded. They're not made for tone. They're 100-watt speakers each one. You know what I mean?
So it's a 400-watt cab.
It is.
That's stiff.
So, and then I have a classic 120 tube power amp stereo.
Right.
So it's 120 watts per side stereo power amp with a Rockmaster preamp, which is kind of a hybrid solid state tube preamp.
It's like the way that preamp is designed. Actually, that's one of my favorite pieces that PV ever made, by the way.
I love it.
I dig it. I dig the fact that it's got separate effect loops for each channel, and then it's got a master effect loop for everything. And I
like it because it make crunch.
Yeah, it make crunch. And the thing about it is that the way that it's designed, if you were to open it up and look at the way the circuit is designed, it's basically like a tube preamp that gets some distortion with like a pedal in front of it. Mm-hmm. Like the way it's designed is like a really killer pedal.
It works perfectly with my fingers.
It does. Killer pedal into a tube preamp, boom.
Yeah, but it still doesn't sound like it's so gained that you can't hear the guitar.
No. It's still articulate, man. So, they did it right.
Right, and PV did some really cool shit. Anyway, that's my rig, and what Wes's son was practicing down the way, and he was just out and about. He had his RG in his hand. He's like, "Check this out, Brian," and I'm like, "Oh yeah,
cool."
He's like, "This is an 87 too," and he has like a real. I think his is really like pink or yellow or something. Anyway, it's like the real deal. That's a red. That's supposed to be a road flare red color is what that's supposed to be. Really? But over time,
that's not shocking pink.
No,
that's a road flare red.
That's road flare red.
All right, because there's road flare red, shocking pink, and then there's desert sun yellow, which mine is a desert sun yellow.
Okay, yeah, and that one is road flare red, which is. I think it's kind of changed colors and in time, but
they get magenta and then they kind of salmon out.
Right. So anyway, he came over and I made him. I said, "Come in here." He was talking about his crank and all these amps that the modern kids have, and I know they have great tube amps out now that are very make crunch.
Right.
And I was like, "Dude, just come plug into this rig and just behold the power."
Right, dude.
That amp still that rig that I have in there still holds up.
It's badass, man.
And when you say it's all PV. Like I said, I've never had the opportunity to have the brand name great boutique shit, but I got the cheap stuff and I've made it work somehow. I got lucky, I guess, in the combination of what I had.
You did.
And And so I was kind of,
That's some of the best stuff they did. Although I never really had good luck with PV cabinets. I had a couple of PV cabinets early on. And
they're very abrasive. They're right in your face.
They're right in your face, like abrasive high band. And I, at the time, now this could have just been, my predilection for bass wallop at the time, but I could always bottom them out. I could always make the speakers move to the point where they were literally like hitting the bottom of the magnet, and it would make this horrible kind of sound. So it wasn't until I actually got myself some Marshall cabinets that I found that didn't happen anymore.
It seemed like the cabinets that I have and what I'm working with right now, you can't get the low end to break.
I'll bet you can't.
You can do like a muffle low, like a jung,
right,
and it doesn't go at all. Right. It's so tight.
Okay,
and that's what I was trying to show him. I was getting him. I was like, do a nice chug on there and feel it, and it just moves your pants. Like,
it does.
It's so tight.
That's awesome.
So tight. I don't know if it's that era of cabinets, but like I said, when I went to the music store, I was up in Galesburg or something, and they were $250 a cabinet or something then. $300, something like that. Totally attainable. Had a credit card for the first time at Discover. I have 4 of them. You know what I mean? And here I am wheeling them some bitches into little bars and shit, when Drophammer's playing.
Yeah, right.
Practicing in somebody's basement. I got 2 stacks down there.
Brian, you and me both. You and me both.
And I remember we were practicing at a guy named Rich Harris's house.
Oh yeah, see, I remember Rich. I was practicing down there at the same time for a little while.
And we brought I brought 2 stacks. The bass player Tony brought his whole full carving stack, I believe is what it was, and then Jeff Styles brought a whole Marshall 2 cabinet, full stack, into this basement.
Shit.
And then Rich let us borrow like 2 floor monitors and a power amp and 2 microphones to practice the vocals.
He had centerfold sound.
And we kept telling him, we were like, hey Rich, because we'd blow them fuckers up. We blow the horns and because we had 2 floor monitors he gave us. He's like, you should be able to hear yourself with these, and we're like,
no.
Over our stacks, we can't. We can barely hear our drummer. We were night green.
Did he give you like one of those QSC MX900 power amps?
Kept popping it, and then he'd be up there on the couch like with his dog, like replacing fuses in them and shit for us.
Yeah, Rich, Rich, man.
Yeah, he's cool. So yeah, we did that, and we were way overdoing it. And then he told me, I remember him telling me as I'm hauling 4 cabinets up and down, between gigs, he said, there'll be a day when you don't haul that anymore. I guarantee you there'll be a time where I see you carrying 1 cabinet.
Yep.
If that.
And you don't have a combo amp.
I was like, shut up. You know what?
You know nothing.
Go fix our horn.
Exactly.
Not being disrespectful, but that kid didn't believe in what was coming out of his...
No.
What?
No, I will always...
1 cabinet.
You don't understand. I will always... And
I'm Brian fucking Miner.
Yeah, and when I have kids, I'm not going to make them clean their room either, because that's fucking bullshit. Yeah. They always said that I was... And that's just bullshit.
Yeah. I'm bringing 4 cabinets till... Probably going to bring 8. If things go right, I'll be bringing 8 cabinets.
Right.
Until I actually carried 4 cabinets. I think I did it for like 2 or 3 gigs.
Yeah.
And then I realized that, that's bullshit.
Well, do you remember that huge dumb rack that I had, man? That thing was fucking retarded.
Yeah.
There was no way,
But I respected that because I believed
I still have injuries from carrying that.
But I believed you had a rhyme to your reason or something with that. I was like, he knows every fucking thing in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I perpetuated the notion that I did.
Yeah.
But I don't think I really did.
Jerry Freeze from Caught in the Act, the guitar player.
Yeah.
Good friend of mine. We always used to argue about this. We always used to argue about this point. And he used to bring it to my attention. He'd say, Brian, I go through all these amps and I have these rack things and all these effects and all these crazy things. And I'm trying to do this. And he says, and then I get all into that and I spend all this money on these pieces. And then I come see you play. And there you stand with your guitar plugged into your amp, into a cabinet.
Totally.
And using your volume, and you don't give a shit about effects or anything like that. And I'm like, I'm lazy. But he admired it. He thought it was, it was like great. But to me, I was just being lazy.
It's not laziness. It's not laziness. I mean, the whole reason why I had the insane rack that I did is that it was all about having your cake and eating it too. It's the whole idea that if you assemble the right equipment and have the right, and you have the right routing equipment, it makes it so that you can have the perfect amp for your clean channel, and then you hit a button, and then you have the perfect amp for your distorted channel. And if you're really cool, you know how to make it come out of the same cabinet. You know what I mean? Like to where when you're switching...
None of that was an option to me. I had to make everything come through whatever cabinet I had.
Of course. And for me, it was all about the ability to go back to at any moment, just with the touch of a button, back to the sound of my guitar just plugged into an amp. But then I could hit another button and have something that was so completely divorced from all of that, just something completely different.
And that being said, we've got to get to, I was trying to bring up Drama Major, so this is another band that's on our bill.
Okay, and Drama Major.
Let's check out, Drama Major.
Drama Major.
So let's check out the tune that I kind of liked. He sent me a couple songs, and I played this one on a podcast recently, but I'm going to play it again because I dig this tune. So
all right, let's have it.
I think this is a good depiction of Wes and where he's at musically, so let's check it out.
Count it, Dad!
Suffocating, broken eyes, blindly crashing, capsized, my perceptions failing, there's tarnished stars, destination lost, heart scars. You think you can solve my problems? You think you can save the day? You think you can stand up to this? Whoa, take it all away! Yeah, everything is crazy, and everything is fucked right now. You lost me and I betrayed me, and this fall I'm in, hands up face first, and I'm almost down. This festering inside me, these feelings they don't equate. I pray for resolution. Walking away. Well, can you rid me of this painless heart? And can you rid me of these scattered thoughts? My tattooed fingers, there's tattooed stars, destination lost, heart scars. You think you can solve my problems? You think you can save the day? You think you can stand up to this? Whoa, take it all away! Yeah, everything is crazy, and everything is fucked right now. Here I stand, I betrayed me. In this fall I'm in, hands up face first, and I'm almost down. This festering inside me, these feelings they don't equate. I pray for resolution. Walking away. Walking away. Walking away. Well, everything is crazy, 'cause everything's all gone right now. Is this fear I'm tasting? Well, I'm almost down. And this festering inside me, empty is all I feel right now. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. Yeah, everything is crazy, and everything is fucked right now. Here I stand, I'm betrayed me. In this fall I'm in, hands up face first, and I'm almost down. This festering inside me, and these feelings they don't equate. I pray for resolution. Yeah, I can't wait. No, I can't wait. Yeah,
So that was drama major with the.
I really like the sound of the drums on that. I mean, that open snare sound is really cool. And that band's also going to be on the bill with Drophammer and Blacklight District on the 23rd. Yep. With Drophammer, and of course, I put together something to play from Drophammer too that we'll put on a little bit later. Okay. But you're gonna make fun of it. It's probably one of.
The only reason why I'll make fun of it is because you're sitting right here.
Okay.
That's the only thing. That's the only reason. Like, if you weren't actually here, I would feel really weird about making fun of it.
Yeah.
Since you're sitting right here,
yeah.
you can defend yourself.
Right.
And you can see that I'm, both serious and not serious at the same time.
Well, I hope you're nice to me.
I'll try to be nice.
Have you ever thought of if you could ever, if last resort, some tribute band calls you and wants you to play a part of some band. Yeah. If I said, okay, look, this gig, it pays $1,000 a gig.
Oh, shit.
We're playing in front of, at least
it's gotta be a band that's worth $1,000. Right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. And I need you to be Klaus Meine and the Scorpions.
For God's sake.
Can you do it?
Yeah, no. I don't even know if I could pull off Matthias.
You can sing that.
I mean, but although this actually brings up a point about Klaus Meine and
what? How'd you say it? Klaus Meine?
Meine. They always.
I call him Klaus Meine or something.
Well, Klaus Meine. I say it that way because if the I is first, I think it's pronounced E.
Loving you.
Right. If you. Right. Yeah, you got to do that. But no. After listening to the last episode of Minor Disturbance Radio, I then realized, that I had listened to no George Lynch. I had no George Lynch in my catalog of memories.
Okay.
And so I went back and tried to listen to some George Lynch. And number one, I found that I think I've been victimized by the sheer anachronism of it. That it's old enough to the point that I've heard so many guitar players that are actually based on George Lynch that now George Lynch represents nothing novel. But
what George Lynch did that no others could do at the time was make his guitar form vowels.
Right. But now, having said that, my point was not to try to rip on George Lynch because George Lynch obviously is a fucking iconic guitar player.
You're losing some fans.
I am. I know it. I'm not going to rip on George Lynch because, obviously the dude set the standard for a lot of stuff, and he has influenced my own guitar playing, obviously, in all these ways that I just don't understand because it's part of the lineage of influence.
I've stolen so much shit from him.
Right. It's part of the lineage of influence that I don't really quite get.
Yeah.
But I can appreciate it. You know what I mean? I like what he does. But the reason why I bring it up is actually more related to Don Dokken and Don Dokken's singing, which is something that really sort of gets downplayed. You mentioned last week, this killed me, by the way, to listen, where you were like, you don't know White Lion because of Mike Tramp. You know White Lion because of Vito Bratta. And they're all like, crickets. Crickets.
I'm like,
you seriously? Oh my God. What? I could see your grand machinations were crumbling. But
well, how could you know who Vito Bratta is?
Easy.
And have been alive for the last 20 years at least.
You just don't know, man.
Yeah, to me,
never came into your sphere.
When I go back and really think about that, though, Vito Bratta was more of a protege of Eddie Van Halen.
He was. He even looked like Eddie Van Halen, for God's sake.
He did?
Absolutely.
I didn't notice that.
And he played the Steinberger, the one that had the kind of strap body, and Eddie Van Halen had just come out playing the Trans Trem all over the 5150 album. It was like he was definitely an Eddie Van Halen. Although the same thing can be said for Warren DeMartini.
No, don't get me started on Warren DeMartini.
There are things about Warren DeMartini's playing and his riff writing that are clearly Eddie Van Halen-esque.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Lynch, too. You can throw Lynch in that same thing because they're all really similar.
Well, Lynch's riffs had a tendency to play more on that minor six kind of sound, you know what I mean? Where it's like you play like 1 and 5, but then you just drop the finger down a fret.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? That
diminishing fifth.
Yeah, or Crazy Train is kind of an example of that, whereas Eddie Van Halen had a tendency to play more like straight thirds.
What I've noticed is anytime you take two notes at the same time and bend them in unison,
Yeah.
That kind of wow, that thing going on. That's what Lynch did. Warren DeMartini, Eddie Van Halen. That whole like getting the vibrato in the
core,
in the upper,
even
like the
even
upper
Stevie Ray
thirds.
Vaughan.
Yeah.
Even Stevie Ray Vaughan. But anyway, I was trying to bring up Don Dokken because it occurred to me after listening to a good amount of Under Lock and Key, which I had never really listened to, that I was really noticing that Don Dokken is clearly a Klaus Meine protege type dude.
Because of the nasal thing?
Yeah. The
like, Dream Warriors. Yeah.
Right, you know. So,
which
so
he did really well, though.
No,
I mean,
but I ended up doing a little, after having this realization, I did a little bit of research into Don Dokken's career. And yes, Don Dokken initially got his gig because somebody saw him when he went to Germany to help sing backup vocals on the Scorpions album.
Ah.
Yeah.
So his dude was Klaus Meine.
Klaus Meine.
And he was like, dang, I gotta sing like that guy. If I sing like that guy, I'll make it to the top.
And he wasn't, well, top of what? But, he wasn't entirely wrong. He did end up getting the gig out of the deal, but yeah, you know, so, I had never really made that connection that the thing with the Scorpions. And then, now correct me if I'm wrong on this too. So if we're talking about Don Dokken is to Klaus Meine what Stephen Pearcy is to the lead singer of Judas Priest, Rob Halford.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about
actually Sebastian Bach was a big Judas Priest guy.
and obviously that was more the high registered thing. But if you listen to that that low kind of scream almost that Stephen Pearcy has from Rat,
yeah.
it is clearly Rob Halford's lower register.
Really?
I mean, it sounds just like
I love Stephen Pearcy's voice. I've always loved it.
I do too.
Even when he's like, through the window, we in the dark. It's so flawed, you know.
Yeah.
Just you and me in the park. You know, it sounds like somebody that can't really sing, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I can't do it very well. But I'm just saying that when he does it, it's almost like it's so flawed that it's cool.
Yeah. Well,
anyway,
for me, it was, and by the road, you will hang no neck for this rat gang.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that song. Don't get me started, man.
That song fucking rules, dude. I mean,
I fucking jack off to that song daily.
But if you listen to
just put on Wanted Man and jack off on it.
But if you listen, all right, man.
I'm sorry. I got a little excited there.
Starting to get a boner. But if you really listen to like a good amount of the album Turbo from Judas Priest,
yeah,
clearly, I mean that lower register. Robert Halford is all over that the whole time when he's not singing like the high stuff.
See, now to bring this back, because what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to play my the last song for the episode and wrap it up.
Right.
We've got so many things we could talk forever, but
I know we can.
We should just have to do it again.
Exactly.
But talking about singers, when you get on the subject of singers, then it starts reminding me of who I try to emulate, you know what I mean, and the kind of voice that I have and what I've utilized over the years. And I wish, God, because it's so hard it's so hard to hit high notes and not sound like a freak or
you have to commit
weird
to them. You have to commit to them. It's the only way to get there. And then even when you do commit to them, that doesn't mean they're going to sound
good. And then when you bite off that much, you know, because when you're writing these songs, you can do them line by line.
Sure.
And then when you go to play them live, now you've got these guitar parts to play and then these singing lines that you got to do. And they you have to do them at the same time.
Right.
That's why when I look at Dave Mustaine, I'm like, stud. But he's not really like he's hitting some high notes though.
Right.
Anyway, the people I was emulating were all these guys. Priest, Maiden, all that, and I never could get that voice down, but I got as close as I possibly could with what God gave me. You know, and in my mind, that's like my offerings. You know, I can't sing like Pantera and all that stuff, but I can kind of sound like these guys.
Yep.
And and so much music relies so much on the vocalist that I really felt like maybe I was shooting our band in the foot by being the singer of the band. But like I said, I was always pushed into that role. I never really wanted to be the singer.
Yeah,
it's just like nobody else will fucking do it. You know what I mean? So I guess I'll do it. You know, and then and at the end of the day,
you came into singing the way most bass players come into bass playing. They're like, "Well, I play guitar." Well, we don't need a fucking guitar player.
Yeah,
we need a bass player.
Yeah,
I'll play bass.
You're the bass player.
Then I got thinking about it. I get to be the singer and the guitar player. There's a certain kind of pride in that.
That, my friends, is twice the vagina.
All the bitches.
That's right. Which is, you know what?
Actually,
200% of nothing.
Yeah. Actually, it ended up being all the headaches.
Yeah, right.
And none of the fun.
Exactly.
Because when you're a singer, you can't party the night before. You can't stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning smoking cigarettes, laughing, having a good time, chasing chicks around, all that shit.
Yep.
You got to be in bed, get rested. You got to keep your voices, especially, the guys I think about are like the singers like Maiden.
Yeah.
That say, or the guys that are on tour that are doing 6 nights a week.
Right,
and,
right.
Like
you can't do it if you're fucking around.
Right,
There's
and
no
when
way.
they were in their prime, look at like Skid Row and that, and I've seen him when he couldn't sing at all, and he was partying too much, and that took over.
Right.
And me, by the time he got to me in Moline or wherever I saw him, his voice was shot, and he didn't give a shit. He was just partying. So
Right.
the guy that I heard, the Sebastian Bach that I fell in love with, I wanted to hear all the notes like at the end of "I Remember You" when he does that really nice line. All that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
You want to hear all of that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't there. He was half, breaking it apart, taking breaths in between. And now I get that.
Right.
Man, to do that 6 nights a week and be perfectly on all the time and still be a rock star.
Yeah.
Yeah,
good luck.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good luck. You can't do it. I mean, the best thing that you can do at that point is try to propagate the illusion that you are still that man, but you can't be that man. But it's like Freddie Mercury. I mean, you want to talk about guys. I mean, Freddie Mercury, in a lot of respects, was kind of like the Yngwie Malmsteen of hard rock vocals.
Yeah.
The dude had a range like freaking 8 octaves or something, and he could sing everything in between.
Sure.
But when he was out on the road, he absolutely could not fucking
do it?
party.
Really?
Man. He could not
Oh,
party.
he couldn't party.
He couldn't party.
Well, you have to make the decision when you're singing that style of music. See, that's why I wish I was a Tom Petty,
Right.
or somebody like that could just kind of go, "Hey, man, this cool."
Well, Bob Dylan, or now
you
I was about
barely
to say,
break your,
I was about to say Bruce Springsteen, but if you ever watch that dude,
baby, you know what I mean? It's almost like the worse your voice is, the better off you are.
Exactly. If you could just play up to that aspect of things, you would be all right.
So I've got this gig coming up 23rd with Drophammer, and a lot of the stuff that I wrote when I put the band together in '96, and so I would have been a lot younger, 24 or something like this, and my voice was. The higher notes were way more accessible then.
Right.
And I don't know, people know this, but when you get older, your high end of your voice starts coming down, and the whole timbre of your voice starts to kind of drop.
Right, exactly.
You start to get this along with, you can't hit the high notes that you used to. But I can still hit them, but they're they don't
have the same strength. They're not in the same.
Well, I still have the strength, but I have a different break in my voice. I can't keep it clean like I used to.
Right. Well, it's the power band. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like where your power band is in your engine.
I can hit the notes, but I just can't keep them as clean as I used to be able to.
They got some grit to them now.
So now they're breaking up different.
Right.
And so anyway. So I've got this band that I've got to play with on the 23rd. I say it like it's a job, right?
Right.
I'm just saying, my band Drophammer.
It's horrible.
So I'll be up there doing my thing and trying to see. These songs are difficult to sing and play, and for me they are.
Right.
And so I'll do the best that I can. But the song that I wanted to play on the show by Drophammer was actually a song that was never released on a Drophammer record.
What?
Yeah. But see, most of the Drophammer fans we've always played the song in our set.
Sure.
So most of the Drophammer fans love this song.
All right.
And it's one of them things that like you said, they your best works, they're kind of like, yeah, that's nice, but that one song,
right, exactly.
that one's cool.
And you're like, that old thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's how I feel too.
That old thing.
But so what I did is I just put a whole bunch of old footage that I could find laying around of that era, like the 2002-ish Drophammer era, and put it to this song. And the song's called One Too Many. It's about drinking too much, because that's what we did all the time. That was our whole thing. We'd get to gigs and have to mix covers and originals most of the time. So we would just, start drinking.
Right.
Because we were losing, our dreams were falling apart.
Well, exactly.
We wanted so much to be this original band.
Right.
And but we had to play Jesse's Girl too.
So then the only thing
and that takes a certain amount of tequila.
Well, yeah, you got to break yourself back down to a level of simplicity that would make it so that you could become satisfied by such a thing.
Right.
Possibly, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
So this song does not depict anything that Drophammer is really about, other than it's Drophammer, but it's a little bit, I guess it's almost like a pop song to us.
Really?
Yeah. But
all right.
I don't know. You be the judge. Check it out.
All right.
You know what?
Huh?
Did he do good?
No, I didn't do good. Don't lie, because it sucks, and it's like it sounds fucking empty and dorky. I don't like it.
I think it sounds cool.
Think of some other brainstorm thing that you do.
I think it sounds cool. I'm keeping it that way.
Oh yeah? Well, I'm the fucking drummer, and I'm fucking doing whatever I want. You can't change shit.
Fish out of water. I don't wanna be another burden upon you. So don't stand there like I didn't warn you. 'Cause now everything's fine. I do this all the time. I've had one too many, or maybe not enough. One too many, or maybe not enough. Don't try to make me go sit down, I don't wanna. I need another shot of that shit from Tijuana. So don't stand there like I didn't warn you. 'Cause now everything's fine. I do this all the time. I've had one too many, or maybe not enough. One too many, or maybe not enough. 'Cause now everything's fine. I do this all the time. I do this all the time. I'm standing here feeling like a fish out of water. And I don't wanna be another burden upon you. So don't stand there like I didn't warn you. 'Cause now everything's fine. I do this all the time. I've had one too many, or maybe not enough. One too many, or maybe not enough. I've had one too many, or maybe not enough. One too many, or maybe not enough. One too
So yeah, that was
One Too Many.
one too many. Drophammer.
By Drophammer.
Yeah, we will be.
Which is a band that's huge in
Yeah,
Japan.
in Japan.
Where they're a bunch of animals.
Well, I'm huge because I'm 6'3".
You're
So,
right, everybody.
but
You're over 5 foot nothing.
yeah.
You're doing pretty good.
And you know, of course, when I listen to that immediately, because I know that you're a guitar tone freak,
Right.
and I immediately find all the, because I totally
no.
shortcut all the guitar tones on
It
there.
doesn't matter. No, actually, I was kind of digging how, and you know, what what a nicely crafted envelope the palm mute was. Chug 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 chug
Yeah.
chug. I mean,
That's my favorite part of the whole song.
I don't blame you.
Yeah,
because
I dig it.
Because I mean, getting that to have the right level of bigness in the stereo mix, which you can really only achieve, in my opinion, through the art of overdubbing.
Oh yeah, there's 4 to 6.
Overdub,
There's
yeah.
like 6 guitar tracks later on there.
Then
Probably.
if you do that, then any inconsistencies beyond about the second track that you add of the same thing begins to contribute to what I call cloudiness, which makes it so that everything actually, instead of getting bigger, sounds further away.
Right.
It just depends on what level of precision you're at,
Yeah, I try to keep 2 of them really tight, panned left and right really hard.
Yep.
And I've done all kinds of different techniques,
Sure,
but
tight.
Yeah. I always when I do recordings, there's nothing better than my love for writing songs and recording songs has always been when you do the first initial track of your guitar and then you pan that sumbitch all the way to the right and then you record a track panned all the way to the left and you play tight with yourself.
Yes.
There's nothing cooler than the stereo sound of you playing. Oh my god!
I'm with you. That's a huge sound.
Yeah.
And I was listening for that, and it seems like whatever you did a pretty good job of making it so that the dynamic was correct to make it so that when you go from palm muting to ringing open chords, it actually seems like it gets bigger.
That's awesome, Travis. Thank you very much for that. My nuts fit very nicely, snugly in the palm of your hands.
You
there.
did a good job.
Thanks for the nut hug there. I appreciate that.
Hugginess.
Yeah, but you know what, man? I think this podcast is about fucking over. What we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to do this again.
Yeah.
Because I think that we could talk forever, and I think we're just getting kind of warmed up
Yeah, we are.
and free flowing here.
Yeah, really.
So I mean, it's been a pleasure to have you, Travis.
Thank you.
And I've always idolized you.
What?
In some way or another. Well, especially the hairdo is really what I idolize. But no, I've always looked up to you as a person first.
What?
And a guitar player like about 5th or 6th, because you're really not that.
No, not really.
You know who I am, right?
Yeah, right.
But anyway,
Exactly
it's been great to talk to you, Travis. We've had such great conversations in the past, and it's a pleasure to talk to you. And I hope everybody dug it. And
well, I hope that you're able to edit this, meandering, nonsensical.
Well, here's the interesting thing, Travis. At some point, this is going to be a live show.
That was right. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
At some point, I'm going to stream this live.
Oh, that'd be cool.
We hit a landmark with a certain amount of likes on our Facebook. See, this is where this show lives. This show lives in some sort of like ether that it's kind of like us. It exists, but it doesn't exist.
Right.
It's in everybody's face, and a lot of people like it. Although, I don't know if everybody's really. Because when you like it, that doesn't mean that you watch it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I have a lot of likes, and it's hard to get around to have the time to sit down and have the free time to do this,
Sure.
And I have to kind of shotgun blast this out to a lot of people so that we can at least catch the people that do have the time and are like-minded and like to do this type of thing. And that takes a long time to build that army.
That's right.
And so I'm trying to do this one listener at a time. I mean, if you're listening to this and you think it's cool, great, you're welcome on the team. I'm glad to have you. If you don't like it, then shut it off, and I won't bug you anymore. Press unlike the goddamn thing.
Right.
If you like me, then I'm going to spam you.
Yeah, exactly.
You see what I'm saying? If you're saying that you like Minor Disturbance Radio, that means that you like what we're doing here.
You will be receiving messages.
You will be, I will be posting it often because I'm proud of this. You know how when you get up in the morning and you look forward to something.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've had that feeling.
Yeah.
And when I came up with the idea of doing this, I was excited again. I was like, there's so many things I want to say. There's so many people I want to talk to.
Yeah.
There's so many, things that I think that other people would be interested in hearing, So they're really having the conversation with us.
Yeah.
It's just we can't hear them.
I love it.
So anyway, that's where this show is, and I hope that everybody enjoys it. Click the like button or whatever you got to do. Fuck the like button. I don't care about the like button. Just listen to the show. I appreciate the views on the show, and again, Travis, you're going to have to come back because next time we're going to have to get a little deeper because I'd like to talk about the string theory, and about the universe, and all these things like this, like the fifth dimension.
Yep, we can get into it. Fifth dimension, sweet band from the 60s.
We will commit nerderness. You guys are nerdering me. Yeah. That's a new word.
So true.
Yeah, because
true.
And I always learn something from you, and I'm glad that you came in.
Yeah.
And like I said, thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you on episode 10.
Thank you.